What's up, everybody? I've got Teddy with me. He's gonna hang out while I make this video. We'll see how long he hangs out while I make this video. So it's been a while since I've did an astrophotography video. It's getting dark. I don't know if you can tell that or not in the video. So we're gonna kind of breeze through this. I say breeze through this, but I'll get long-winded and it won't be a breeze. So I have a new telescope in my collection. Actually, I have two. I'm borrowing one from a very good friend, and then I've got this one that I'm going to start playing with and see how well it does. So we'll see. Um, this is going to be a new planetary type telescope, so I'll be using it to take photos of Jupiter and Saturn, so expect to see those photos. I'm not impressed by Mars. It's just kind of a brown ball to me, so probably won't see very many photos, or if any photos of Mars, but you definitely will of Jupiter and Saturn. So that's the primary use for this scope, outside of me taking photos of really small nebula that are out there that I can't see in great detail with my old telescope, that little refractor that I showed you guys last time. Okay, so there's some things that have changed on my old telescope that I want to show you guys, and it'll probably cover a couple questions that I've had asked. The big difference on this one, at least, and a more convenient difference for me, is I've gone away from having to manually focus my telescopes. I've gone to the electronic focuser, which is this little red box here. This telescope also has one. It's located right there. It's just in a different orientation because the knob's in a different location. So that's going to ultimately make my life significantly easier, because now I don't have to come out and manually focus my telescope. The little red box on the top of this one, and the little red box on the very bottom of the telescope on this one, which is right there, connect to my iPad or my phone, and I'm able to basically control everything that this setup needs to do. Move, change targets, focus, change filters, take photos, take videos. You're doing good. Okay. The old way of doing it, I've had a couple people ask about focus, is this fits on the front of this one, and this fits on the front of this one. Light travels through this batten-off mask, and it creates a star with 6 spikes. It has 3 spikes per side, and that central spike, depending on where your focus is, moves. It'll go from the top up at the other spike all the way to the bottom at the very bottom spike on both sides. So picture 3 spikes this way and 3 spikes that way. The more in focus you are, the more centralized that middle spike is on both sides. You can see where that's really convenient, because it's super easy to put that spike in the center, but it's also annoying that I'd have to come outside. For me, it's annoying for me to come outside on the nights that we had, upper 20s, low 30-degree weather, and start tweaking with the focus, knowing that my hands are cold and that my feet are cold and my legs are cold. I'm not a cold weather person. Came from the south. I much prefer the heat over cold weather. So, okay, buddy. So that's a huge change, at least for that telescope. Other than that, I upgraded a couple little things on it, but they're not going to be noticeable in any of the photos that I take. The big thing is this setup here, which I'm very excited for, to get some light in it tonight. The cameras are very, very similar on these setups. That's a ASI 294 MC Pro, so it's a one-shot color camera. And the camera on this is the ASI 294 MM, which is the monochrome version of that camera, except when you get into some of the details, there are some other differences. Both these telescopes have guiders, and what I mean by that is I have a guide scope here, this little red tube. This one has one here at the back of this little tiny telescope on the top. It connects to this box. This box connects to my mount. It tells my mount what it needs to do and where it needs to correct. So if it's tracking too fast, it tells it to slow down and correct. If it's tracking too slow, it'll speed it up to correct. If the wind blows and bumps it off course, or something happens, the ASI Air Pro is telling the mount what it needs to do in order to correct that. But that's all coming from the data from this little camera. The cool thing about this camera is, if you saw the moon photo that I posted, was done by this little camera, not by this one or by that one, but buy this little one. So it's going to be an amazing part of my planetary setup and my lunar setup. I'm also trying to go the route of solar. It's just kind of an expense, and I don't want to jump into it. When I say it's expense, the filter for that's around $1,200, and that's a lot to dump into a filter to know, just to take photos and videos of the sun, stuff that it's a ball of light that's in our sky every day. Almost done. Okay. Okay. We'll watch hockey when we're done, I promise. So that will probably come, but it will probably get used on this telescope instead of this telescope. So if you see videos and photos of the sun coming up, you know that I took the dive into that area of astrophotography. It's going to be a bit. I want to play around with this and see where I can get with this, because this is a whole new realm for me telescope-wise. The difference, I had a couple people ask the difference in telescopes. So I have two different telescopes here, and then another one inside, but it's very similar to this one. This is a refractor, so light comes in from one side and goes out the other, just like a camera lens. Goes through a bunch of glass and then comes out. There's the simplistic part of it. This one's a little different. So this one, let's see if I can flip it, has a mirror in the very back, and it has a smaller mirror in the very front. So light travels into this telescope, it hits the big mirror in the back, then the light travels back forward, hits this little mirror in the front. You can't see it because the mirror's on the back side, and then it shoots light back towards the camera at that point. So this telescope does a great job of taking a piece of the night sky and really bringing it up close, because it changes the focal length. The longer the focal length you have in a telescope, the closer you're going to get to things. This has a focal length of about 350 millimeters. Great for wide shot stuff. Those beautiful galaxy photos, those beautiful nebula photos, but terrible for planetary and terrible for little tiny galaxies and tiny nebula that are just really hard to see. So kind of a game changer for me. Different world, huge learning curve. So I'm excited to kind of figure it out and see where this takes me in the hobby. The other big change that I'm having to overcome is I'm used to taking all my photos with a one-shot color camera, which is that guy down there. Taking photos with that is I set it up and I take 100, 200, 300 photos, and all different time lengths, and then I combine them and create a beautiful image. This, I have a filter wheel now with 7 different filters. I have a luminance, a red, a green, a blue, hydrogen alpha, a sulfur, and an oxygen filter. And I have to now take all that data from each of those, go through the whole process of making one image out of all these images, and then stack them in a sequence or in an order. So I can create a one-shot color image, or I can create a Hubble palette image, like the Hubble telescope takes pictures. And then there's a couple other different ways of putting images together to get different color patterns. So this is a new kind of a learning curve for me. So bear with me. You may not see photos pump out all the time like you did with the little refractor, but it's because I have new things to kind of figure out. There are some things that are really easy. Calm down. I know you're singing, buddy. Hold on. We're almost done, I promise. And then we'll go inside and watch hockey. So those are the big differences. If you guys have questions, I've had a lot of people message me, and I absolutely love it. You can ask my wife. I love answering questions about this hobby. I don't eat, sleep, and breathe it, but I can guarantee if I could do this as my full-time gig, I would do it without any questions asked. I love this. I love seeing things that I cannot see with the naked eye, and finding new things to take pictures of and seeing that first picture pop up is just mind-blowing. At least for me it is. You guys kind of get to see the finished deal. If you want to see the processing side of things and what images look like before and what they go through to create that final result, let me know and I will work on that and find a way to capture what my computer's seeing so you guys can see that whole process. If there's any other part of this that you guys want to see, let me know and I will create videos on it. This is just kind of the rough bits of it, the equipment portion of it, the things I get the questions most about, because people want to buy telescopes, set things up, and see the things that I'm seeing. And you absolutely can. You do not have to spend ridiculous amounts of money in order to do it. If you want to see the Andromeda Galaxy, grab a little spotting scope or a great set of binoculars, or even a good set of binoculars. Find it in the night sky and look at it. It's going to be gray, but you're going to see a galaxy with your naked eyes. And it's, if that doesn't blow your mind, then astrophotography in space is not for you. Seeing things like that is just absolutely incredible. Same thing with the planets. When the planets are back out, we'll have them in the morning during this time of year. But when they pop back up in the nice, dark, deep sky, and they're actually in a good viewing area, look at them. They're amazing. Seeing the moons revolve around a planet that's not ours is very, very, very cool. I don't know if it'll be something that I get stuck on imaging all the time, but I'm definitely going to work it into my rotation of things to take pictures of. Let me put you down real quick. So I'm going to get him inside, and then I'm going to start taking photos. I'm going to work on time-lapse videos so you guys can watch my telescope track things through the night sky, because I'm sure that would be a really cool thing to see. You can watch how far I follow targets. Sadly, everything that I'm imaging is on this portion of the night sky, because Andromeda is going to pop up here for me. Or sorry, Orion Nebula will pop up here for me, the Horsehead Nebula, the Jellyfish Nebula. All those are kind of in that general locale right now, and they're not in the greatest spots for me to take pictures of. I have a lot of planets that are coming across my house, across the top of the truck, that are really easy to track and image right now, so that's kind of what I'm stuck with. I will get sneak peeks of nebulas as they poke across, but I won't get any images till the early morning hours when they're, you know, more to the west, northwest for me. I have trees that obstruct things. But again, if you guys have questions, want to know things, please reach out, ask questions. I did talk to a couple people about doing a star party and starting a stargazer club, at least for our area. I know a couple people who have telescopes, myself, my brother-in-law. There's a couple other people in town that have more vision style telescopes, but everyone, even if you don't have a telescope, when those things get set up, I'll post them online and you guys can come out and see what we're seeing. The best part about it is we can sit in a nice warm area and you don't have to look through an eyepiece, because everything pops up on a screen now. So that is a huge plus from the star parties that I did back east, where I see. You gotta leave it alone because it's gonna make sounds when you rub it against things. Okay, thank you. So I will post when we're going to start doing that sort of thing. We're just waiting for some consistent clear skies, because there's nothing more disappointing than getting things set up and then, like right now, I've got some clouds moving over, but they're supposed to blow away. I'd hate for people to stand around bored just looking at stuff versus looking at stuff, if that makes sense. So I will keep people in the loop, and again, reach out if you want to know something, if you want to come out and see this thing run in person. Play with it, move it around, find things to look at. I plan on building a really nice battery box that will allow me to go anywhere and everywhere that I need to go with this telescope, way up in the mountains, into the city of Gold Beach, down to Brookings, north, out on, I'm trying to avoid the ocean. This stuff doesn't like salt water or the salt in the air, so the further I can stay away from that big body of water, the better. But that's what we're going to work on, and hopefully make this thing grow. I'd love to see more people in this hobby. Even if you don't want to purchase a setup and do it, I'd love to see people come out interested, asking questions, learning. These little guys are our future, and the more we can keep the at least kids in general interested in this, even young adults, the better, because you're going to pass this knowledge along, and I will give you anything and everything I got. Thanks, guys. Ready to go inside?
Yeah.
Let's see if that recorded. Oh, let's check my phone. It's pretty dark now. Let's see. 15 minutes.